Today on The Young and the Restless, Billy takes Jack and Diane off guard. Phyllis wants to fix things and Tucker's return creates a mystery. Phyllis greets Summer at society and tells her she looks terrific. She worries she's trying too hard and rambles about things being bad the last time they saw each other. Neither of them want tension. Summer tells her mother her buying trip to Milan was amazing. Phyllis thinks this is good for her. Summer says the trip made her remember how much she loves what she does and also to realize it's time to move on. Phyllis is glad to hear her say that after everything she did. Summer questions, "You know I'm talking about Kyle, right?" Phyllis is dismayed to hear she's letting go of him. She wants Summer to be happy, but she already has Kyle. Does she really want to let him go? Summer says she doesn't have him, it's over. She reminds her mother that she's in this situation because of her vendetta against Diane. Phyllis says Diane left her no choice, but then accepts responsibility. She doesn't want her mistakes to be the reason that her marriage is over. Summer tells Phyllis, "Kyle and I are getting a divorce. It's not her job to make her feel better about it." Phyllis agrees, this is about her happiness. Summer snips, "The hell it is." She warns Phyllis as she tries to push her and Kyle back together. That's about her and her guilt. Summer suggests she start small, like not doing any more damage. Phyllis changes the topic to Daniel and Lily. Who knows how long that will last now that Heather's back in town. Summer warns her mom not to get involved in that. Phyllis just thinks that Kyle is Summer's one true love. Summer thought that too, but it's over between them. She feels stronger and clear on who she is and what she wants. "I'm free." Daniel greets Heather at Crimson Lights and tells her she just missed Lucy. Heather knows that it took for him to get to this good place, and she's proud of him. Daniel hopes his mother didn't put her too much on the spot asking her to move back to the States. Heather says it's all right. Daniel chuckles, "No, it's not." Heather says Phyllis didn't ask her any questions she hasn't asked herself. Lisbon was a great adventure, and it was good for Lucy. Over time, it became less about getting away from him. Daniel asks what happened to her boyfriend, Christopher. Heather says he wanted her to cut back on her workload and have kids. Daniel's sorry to hear that and asks how Lucy took it. Heather thinks she always sensed it was temporary. Talk turns back to the improvements Daniel has made in himself. Heather thinks his positive actions kept Lucy's hope alive that there might be a chance for the three of them to be a family again. Daniel tells Heather that they'll always be a family even if the two of them aren't together. The important thing is that they're all in a good place now. Heather thinks it might help Lucy to hear it from him. Daniel thinks it will be good for her to realize they're in sync. Heather reveals that she's not sure she wants to go back to Lisbon. Daniel asks what she'll do. Heather may look for a new practice in Savannah or here. Lucy could still get into Walnut Grove this semester, and she imagines Daniel wants to spend more time with her. Daniel thinks Heather should think about what's best for her too. Heather will do that and has to go now, she's meeting his mother. Daniel is concerned and gets a funny feeling Phyllis would like nothing more than to get the two of them back together. Heather asks, why would she want that? Audra meets Tucker at the GCAC and needles that his must have been the shortest honeymoon on record. Tucker doesn't want to discuss it with her. Sitting, she reminds him she may be the one friend he has. He can tell her if something's wrong. Tucker says what's wrong is Jack. He didn't realize the hold he has on Ashley was so strong. Audra recalls that Ashley and Jack were preparing to go to war. What's changed? Tucker asks why she cares. Audra says he looks terrible and she's worried. It's also valuable information. Tucker concedes. Ashley and I had an argument. Audra wonders why he's being suspiciously vague. She questions him coming back to Geno City without her due to an argument. Tucker shrugs. Maybe it was more than that. In the park, Billy stews as he thinks back to arguing with Jack about Diane and Jabut. He sighs deeply and then gets up and walks off. At Jabut, Jack surprises Diane with an invitation to their wedding reception. He says all they need to do is set a date. They kiss and canoodle. Jack gushes that he's as happy and optimistic as he's ever been and proposes a date in early October. Will she trust him to handle the arrangements so it would be a surprise for her? Diane kisses and asks for a hint as to what he's up to. Jack says it will be dazzling and represent who they are. She's intrigued. They're kissing when Billy interrupts with something to say, "I'm sorry." Billy says he's been acting badly lately and apologizes to Diane, who appreciates it. Jack asks why he's sharing this with them now. Billy wanted to protect the company and for Diane's role to evolve naturally, but he bought into Ashley's theory that Diane would cause irrevocable damage to Jabot. Jack complains that Ashley and Tucker had it in for her, but says they've backed off now. Billy bought into his worst impulses and thought he could run the company if they managed to get control of it. He couldn't sleep last night for worrying about turning into his old self. Diane and Jack regret asking him to be the Trojan horse. Billy shouldn't have let it get as far as he did. I'm not proud of it. Jack is proud of him for admitting it, and Diane is relieved that he no longer sees her as a threat. Billy tells her she's a part of the crazy mess they call a family. Jack declares that they're all going to lunch to celebrate on him. At the club, Audra pushes to find out how bad things got between Tucker and Ashley. She guesses she's going to take her assets back to Jabot. Tucker hollers at her to let it go. He doesn't owe her any explanations. He then apologizes for taking it out on her. Just then, Billy, Jack, and Diane walk in. The Abbotts approach to find out what's going on. Jack wants to know why Ashley isn't there and what happened on the honeymoon. Tucker snaps, "Why did you ask her yourself?" He walks off and Billy and Jack grill Audra, who isn't forthcoming. Jack calls Ash and leaves her a message to call when she can. Billy finds this all very strange. He wonders if his sister came to the same realization about the family that he did. Jack marvels, wouldn't that be a blessing? At Society, Phyllis tells Summer that the S&A media gig fell apart. Summer asks, "What did you do?" Phyllis says it wasn't her, it was Adam. She's okay and doesn't have to make any decisions right away. Summer asks her to focus on her life and staying on track. Phyllis says she will. Summer has to get back to the office and asks if she can give her mother a ride. Phyllis is actually meeting someone here, my attorney, Heather. Summer raises her brows. Mom. Really? Summer arrives at Crimson Lights and walks up to Daniel and Heather. She's glad to get to see Heather before she heads back to Portugal. Heather clears her throat, her plans are actually up in the air. Heather trots out and Daniel says to Summer, "You'll never guess where she's headed." Summer knows she's having lunch with their mom and warns that she's on a mission to repair all the damage she's done. She's determined to save her marriage. Daniel thinks it's the least she could do. Summer informs him there's nothing to work through. It's not something she can fix. Summer then tells him that she's pretty sure that Phyllis wants to get him and Heather back together again too. Daniel groans that this is typical mom. She wants to rush in and fix everything without asking anyone what they feel. Daniel asks if Summer wants her to try and fix her and Kyle. Summer says, "No, it's not going to happen. What about you and Heather?" At the club, Jack, Diane, and Billy wonder what could have happened between Ashley and Tucker. Billy thinks maybe she came to her senses and kicked him out. Jack worries he hurt her. He can be unpredictable and dangerous. They all agree to keep their eyes on Tucker. Diane has to get going, so Jack asks Billy to stay. Once she's gone, Jack tells Billy, "I want to talk about you, and everything you just said earlier." Jack likes what Billy had to say, but he's wondering if he's telling him what he wants to hear. He needs to know if things are okay between them. Billy isn't sure if he's not accepting his apology. Jack hates not knowing what's going on with Ashley and if he can trust his family members. Billy knows he's protecting their father's legacy and assures him he's no longer doing it alone. Jack loves and trusts Diane, but he knows he can't just blindly give her power over the family company. She wants to be part of things. Billy can support that. Jack is happy to hear him say that. At the park, Abby spots Diane and thanks her for saving her mom. Diane just happened to be there and did what anyone would do. Abby argues she's not just anyone. Ashley put a target on her back. Diane thinks things seem to be better. Abby thinks it's a good sign she went on her honeymoon. Diane's expression changes. She tells Abby that she just saw Tucker at the athletic club. He's back alone and no one knows what happened, but Tucker didn't look happy. Once alone, Abby calls her mother and leaves her a voicemail asking what's going on. In his suite, Tucker flashes to a romantic toast with Ashley and to them expressing their love. He paces and then flashes to her being unhappy on their honeymoon. She admits she's thinking about Jack. They had a massive fight years ago. He came to Paris to smooth things over, and they talked and realized that the blood they shared was stronger than the argument. Being there has reminded her of that. Tucker asks if it's out of her system now so they can enjoy their honeymoon. Ashley's expression belies his hopes. At Crimson Lights, Daniel tells Summer he and Lily are happy and things are good. Summer wonders if there's any part of him that wants to make things right with Heather. Daniel wants to be friends and co-parents with her. Summer warns that their mother wants to reconnect with them by fixing their lives. Daniel says, "We've got to stop her." Summer agrees, before she makes things worse. Tucker walks into society and Phyllis says she thought he was on his honeymoon. Tucker grunts, "Good for you." Heather walks in and he tells her if she's sticking around, he's going to need a good attorney. At the club, Jack and Billy shake hands. They're only looking forward now. As Billy walks out, he pauses as a serious expression crosses his face. Behind him, Jack narrows his eyes and nods.